15 to 15.
Well, you mean in that book? No.
They show me
Okay.
In that little book, you mean?
yeah, 15 to 15.
You mean in that book?
Enter address. Enter city.
15 to
In that little
15.
book, you mean?
Enter address. Enter city. Enter address. Enter city.
15 to 15.
Yeah, so we're currently driving down our Huntington trip with the whole family. All crammed into the car for a little bit of enjoyment time, so.
Enter address. Enter city.
Alright, so I'll tell my team to go ahead and start, and then you are going to be sending
In that
out
little
some
book, you
messages.
mean?
Enter address. Enter city.
Saturday.
15 to 15.
Well, you mean in that book? No.
Enter address. Enter city.
In that little book, you mean?
Enter city. Enter address. Enter city. Enter city.
Time you're near a rose, aren't you glad that you got a nose? And when the dawn is fresh with dew, aren't you glad you're you? When a meadow lark appears, aren't you glad that you got 2 ears?
He's waving.
And when your heart is singing too, aren't you glad you're you? See a summer sky, touch a friendly hand, eat an apple pie. Pardon the grammar, but ain't like grand. And when you wake up each morn, aren't you glad that you were born? Think what you got the whole day through. Aren't you glad you. And when you wake up each morn, aren't you glad that you were born? Think what you got the whole day through. Aren't you glad you. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad you.
This is our dog. Yeah.
Aren't you glad? 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 Aren't you glad you're you?
Hey, I'll show it to you in just a second. Let's go take one more and then.